Welcome back to Tony's Top Tips Workshop. This is just will be not like the last video I did, but I did that video. It was quite lengthy, but I felt that it had to be put into one long video in order to show the continuity of it. And I've had some good feedback from that video. In fact, this video is spurred on by a gentleman that emailed me last night. Messaged me last night, and I messaged him back, and I thank him quite a lot. He's put a cure into the rotation problem that I had. Now you'll see the gentleman, I don't want to mention his name, but he doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he's in actually the comments under the video, and I have answered him. So but if you remember on the video, I had a problem with the rotation. I sorted it by changing the the chuck stock round to the right hand side, and I actually prefer it better like that, because all my waste is where you grip the chuck, so what I'm actually producing is clean on the left hand side. It's just where I want to work it, but there you go. But he messaged me last night, and he said that it's if you want to turn the chuck the other way, the simple way to do it is reverse the 4 wires on the I'll show you in a moment, on the actual stepper motor for the 4th axis. And I thought, well, I haven't seen any documentation whether there is for anything out there. I don't know, but I'm not an electrician, so it's something that I wouldn't have tried, but this gentleman was quite confident that reversing the wires, he sent me how to do it, instructions how to do it, and I thought I'll come down to the workshop this morning and I'll try it out, and it works. Now the answer to make it more permanent, because maybe sometimes you want it to go in reverse. Now you can't alter that on the if you're using the offline controller. You can, if I'm using candle, I can alter that, but I can't on the offline controller. So anyway, what I'll do now is I'll show you the wires concerned. I've changed them over now, and it works perfect, the opposite direction. I will be changing them back, but through this gentleman's knowledge, this cure works. Why Sainsmart has not said that, I don't know. Barring altering the G code, I don't know. But anyway, we'll go over to machine, and I'll show you the wires that you actually change over. Right, here we are at the machine. Right, I'll just go on to the rotary axis on the obviously on the offline controller. Now you'll notice that you might not be able to see from there, but I've got it set on A+. Now before, that turned towards me. That now turns away. There's no damage done whatsoever. It just turns the opposite direction. I will be putting it back because I like this chuck now. I've realised that on the right hand side. But what I'll do is I'll just switch the machine off, because you want to do it powered off. That's powered off now. Right. If you look, let me. Right, here you go. What we've got here is the picture of the stepper motor and the connections, the wiring connections that I changed over, that the gentleman said if you change them over, it'll work in the opposite direction. And as you can see here is A+, A-, B+, and B-. This is from the manual, but I can't find anywhere where it tells you to change, you know, if you wanted to reverse it, to change it over. So what it is you take those two from the plug. That when you undo these, they're like a little wire end that comes out, and just put those two in there and those two in there. It's a simple case of crossover and tighten it back up, and that's it, and it works in the opposite direction. crystal clear, and it does work. So thanks to that gentleman. Right, can you see those 4 black wires? That's the stepper motor plug, and this is the connection here. Right, so as you can see, the wires are crossed there, and that's because on this side, looking from I'll turn it over. So right, it's turned over now. So that connection there is A plus, next one A minus, next one to that B plus, B minus, and all you're doing is putting the it's changeover, as I say now, but all you're doing is putting the B plus and B minus into the A plus and A minus, and then the A plus and the A minus into the B plus and B minus. That's it, just swapping the 2 wires over, and it works perfectly. So thanks to that gentleman, that's been an easy fix. I am putting it back. There are some dip switches which shows in the manual. You can see the dip switches there, but did you see them there? See the dip switches? But as I say, I'm not going to start touching those. You just need a very fine screwdriver for these, slotted screwdriver, and then you can just change them over if you have that problem, and it works fine. And as I say, great thanks to the gentleman. And this is what I like about YouTube. We all learn from one another on YouTube, and it's a shame that he doesn't have a channel, because I'm sure he has quite a lot of knowledge to put out there. But there you go. So right, the other thing I want to mention as well is on my previous video that I've just put out, I did say that probably the maximum diameter you get with the that you could utilise with the chuck, using a false blank on the bottom, would be around about safely about 40-45 mil, depending on how strong the stepper motor is and the spindle that you're using. But actually, I think you could, I mean, I've tried this, and I think you could actually get up to about 65 mil safely. Now, I had quite a lot of viewers sending me messages saying, what do you mean by a false blank? I'll just show you. Now, I'll just show you this rotating. That's a 65 mil diameter blank, so that could be all across to the square object that would fit in, or around right across to the tailstock centre. Or you could use probably an inch one here, and without support at this side. But this is what I mean by a false blank. That's 25 mil diameter. Obviously there'd be better quality than that. This is just to show you. Now that is put on with your super glue, but I normally use a piece of A4 paper and wood glue on either side, and then just clamp it and hold it, or just leave it with a little bit of weight on it, and then it's easy to separate, and it doesn't damage the fibres of the timber that you're pulling out when you knock it off. And then obviously that sits into your chuck, as you can see. Now that gives you, between you, I'll just point out to you, between top of your jaws and the bottom, about 3 mil clearance, and it's sat square because the actual plug is cut square and true. It's not rough cut, so that sits in there. You clamp it up, and then that becomes your chuck's holding whatever you've got in here. But I just wanted to show you that you can get a 65 mil safely. There's about 8 mil clearance at the bottom, but it does work. I've had it revolving, I've had the cutter up to it, but not actually cutting, and it's followed it round perfectly. So yeah, that's just one little problem that I came across, and I thought I'll see if I can adapt that to take a bigger blank, which gives you more scope to work with. Right, I'm back round now. As I say, thanks to the gentleman, that problem's cured. I'm going to put it back round. I like the chuck on the right. It was just a thought at the time I did it. I thought I prefer it on right, and it'll go in the opposite direction. It did. It works out great. But this is, as I was saying, this is what YouTube's about. We all learn from one another. We put the knowledge out there, hoping that somebody can learn from that, and it helps people. And that gentleman certainly did. So that concludes the video. There will be some more videos coming out. I'll be using the 4th axis for some spiraling and some rounding toolpaths, square to round. I'll be showing it working from the offline controller. I'm not using the PC, I'm going to use the offline controller. And also I'll be doing some with the offline controller, 3 axis, probably a project with that V-carving or whatever. That's for the future. I'm a bit tied up with other things at the moment, but all being well, that should well, I can't say how long it's going to be, but at the end of the day, it'll be what it'll be time wise. So as I always say now, like and subscribe, because that really does help me, and the comments, I answer everybody. Please bear with me till the next video comes out, and always, as I always finish off with saying, be careful and be safe out there, and bye for now.